Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown in my last video. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to drop them down below or to send me a private message. In this video, we're going to be building a mining rig that holds 12 GPUs, and we're going to be hotboxing it by enclosing it in plywood. We're going to compare the temperatures from that to the temperatures to a regular mining rig that is just open air. So right now I am installing these 200 CFM fans. There's going to be 8 of them, pushing air that way through the cards. On the other side, I'm gonna put something that's gonna pull the hot air out. And I'm also gonna use one of these or some of these pieces of plywood I got at Lowe's, cut them to size to kind of enclose this whole mining operation where there's only intake, and then it's gonna push the hot air out that way. It's gonna suck the air out. Essentially, I'm making like a huge 12 GPU mining rig, kind of designed around what a async machine does. So right now I'm measuring to see what's the size I need to cut this piece of plywood so I can enclose the whole back of the miner, so the only exposed areas are the fans that are sucking air in, pushing it through the miner, and then in the front is gonna have air that's sucking the hot air out. Very similar, so 8 fans here and 8 in the front. Now that I have the width cut out on the board, I'm gonna measure the height. So I put one fan over here so I can have a controlled height, so it's not weird at an angle. So now I'm just gonna push everything up against it and mark from the bottom where I actually wanna cut the board, so I can keep everything enclosed. So this part right here, I clamp down the board so that way it doesn't move, and I'm gonna drill some holes through it. I'll show you guys on the other side what it's gonna look like. So you guys can see there is a few pre-drilled holes on this mining rig. I'm gonna use those to mark where I'm gonna put the screw through to hold this back piece of wood in place. So I'm using these 1/2-inch washers and 1/2-inch machine screws to kind of hold this back piece onto the mining rig. That way there's no pointing screws on the other end, and it's just a more efficient way of holding it all down together. Now I'm gonna drill the pre-marked holes in the back that I did earlier, and then I'm gonna go mount it and secure it and see how it fits, and then I'll take this part off, and then I'll start working on the sides and the front of the rig. So I've attached the screws with the washers. I actually just need 4. I didn't need this one, and I didn't need this one. Now when I flip this over, you guys can see it perfectly covers that part where the fans are gonna be, where it's exposed where there are no fans. The other 2 fans are gonna go here, cover the whole thing. I may need to cut a hole for the power supply to breathe. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna place the power supply first, but this piece is done. I can remove it, attach it whenever I need it, right towards the end, and I'm gonna move on to the next one now. So here I've cut the side panel to size as well, and I'm gonna do the same thing by removing some of these screws actually, and I'm gonna mark where the holes are gonna go on this side and then close it the same way. So these are the side panels that I built. I cut to size, I screwed in into the mining rig. That way I can just pass airflow straight from here through the cards and out. I didn't cut them to size of the height yet because I don't know what the top is gonna look like once I have the cards set up. Some cards have 3 8-pin connectors and they're higher than the rest. So now here's where I'm gonna get a few cards and measure what the height should be before I cut these, or maybe even leave them like these. So for this build, I'm going to be using the Mining Expert B250 motherboard. It holds 19 cards. I can fit 12 on this rig. This should be sufficient. And anyways, anything after 12, 13 cards, I have issues with them being recognized. So this is a perfect motherboard for a 12 card rig. I'm going to put the motherboard stands, and then I'm gonna screw in the motherboard and we'll position and see how it fits. So after installing the power supply, I realized that I'm gonna need some sort of hole here that's gonna suck air in. So I'm gonna have to cut a square out of that. Shouldn't be too difficult, just so air gets sucked in and get pushed out through the back. As you guys can see, this is the full rig build. I installed 12 3080s in here with that B250 Mining Expert motherboard. I try to keep it as snug as possible with all the cable management. We are currently using a 1600, a 1300, and an 850 power supply to power these 12 cards. As you guys can see, these are the temperatures for the cards. The highest being 62 and the lowest being 48. This is without enclosing them with plywood on the sides and making it into like a mining hotbox. As you guys can see, one of my cards is only pushing 82 mega hash with a power draw of 200 watts. One of the 3 8-pin connectors is flashing red with a red LED light. I am trying to troubleshoot the issue. Worst case scenario, I'll have to send it in for RMA and have it fixed. So I've cut out where the power supply is gonna need to intake some air. I've cut out the square for more or less how it's gonna be. So as you guys can see, this is the holes that I told you guys about. This is what's holding the frame, and so is this. But instead of taking this out and letting this hang, I drilled the hole bigger so that way it sits through the screw. I don't know if you guys can see. And everything's flush. This is for the power supply. The height I have not defined yet until I figure out what I'm going to do at the top, whether I close it off or I cut it to size and just only pull hot air out of the front of the rig. Pull the hot air through here or through the top. But this is what one of the side panels look like. So this is the left side panel for the mining rig. This is the intake for the 1600 power supply. And this is the exhaust for the 850 power supply. So to avoid any splinters like this, I'm actually sanding it down with one of these. Just make sure it's nice and smooth, and then we're gonna go fit it. So I've added a second part where you can see the exhaust coming out from the smaller power supply. This is for the 1600. So I've actually had to make an additional cut because this 1600 power supply has a thick power cord, and also the button needs some room for me to press it. So now I'm adjusting everything, and I'm gonna cut a hole for the I/O. So I made a cutout for the I/O. Let's go fit it and see if everything's aligned properly. So this is where we're at. I did the back panel. I sealed everything off except for the I/O, the exhaust for the power supplies, and that's pretty much it. It took a while to cut, a lot of measuring, but I got it to the best I could, and it should still help with airflow performance. So after installing both side panels and the back panel, you can see a significant drop in temperature in all cards, highest being 55 and as low as 41 degrees. Overall, I would recommend the design like this as long as you have something like Hive OS that can shut down your miner if the temperature gets too hot. That's just in case your fans fail. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, drop the comment below or send me a private message. If you guys liked the video, hit the thumbs up. If you guys are new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you subscribe and you turn on your notifications. In my opinion, hotboxing your cards are a great way of keeping them cool. As long as you have powerful fans pushing the hot air outside of the box, you guys will be fine. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.